What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and currently I'm in one of the most haunted spots in Texas. This is called the Goatman's Woods, and apparently if you come here exactly at midnight, some sort of mythological beast will come out and maybe take your soul away. That's about 12 minutes from now, so let's kill some time by, I don't know, counting down my picks for the top 10 best modern horror games.
Number 10. Resident Evil 7. In the swamps of Louisiana, there can be a lot of hidden secrets. Beyond the winding roads and creepy houses lies creatures far darker than anything currently known about in the world. Normally, this is the kind of location you'd avoid just to be on the safe side, but when our hero receives a message that his missing wife may be here, he has no choice but to explore these nasty depths. Resident Evil 7 is a wondrous reinvention of the series, moving the action to a first-person shooter style while also keeping with its terrifying roots. Pick this up for some gooey good frights that you won't see anywhere else. Number 9. Little Nightmares. When I personally think of side-scrollers, I imagine platformers like Mario or indie puzzle games like Fez. The first thing that leaps to my mind isn't a deadly match of hide-and-seek, but that's where Little Nightmares takes us. We start off in the lowest levels of a giant prison called the Maw. It's a name that's very fitting because the freaks that have made their home here only like to do one thing, and that's eat. Anything that's alive is a yummy meal to them, so breaking free of this place is going to mean that you stay out of sight or inside their stomach. Moving from area to area, dodging more dangerous beasts with each place you reach, and learning about this hellish environment is an experience that's far more messed up than you could ever imagine. Number 8. Friday the 13th. There was someone who once claimed that mankind is the most deadly animal due to the fact that we can plan how we want to kill. That is totally true when you're running from Jason at Camp Crystal Lake in this game. In this, 7 people are playing as counselors and 1 person is the masked madman himself. The goal is to find a way out any way you can, which means fixing a car, gassing up a boat, or just radioing the cops if possible. There's such a rush to trying to be the last man standing, to outlive your friends. Working together can probably make you live longer, but if you're mean, you can just leave the others behind. I had so many great moments where I managed to repair a vehicle, and right as we're all about to climb into it, Jason would show up and I'd be forced to drive off into the night alone as the sole survivor as he chopped them up. Number 7. Amnesia the Dark Descent. Let's shift gears away from fighting off monsters and talk instead about a title that leaves you with nothing to protect yourself except a tiny lantern. Within the blackened hallways of this ancient castle, our hero finds himself stumbling around in search of answers. He discovers a note that seems to be written by him, claiming that his memories have been erased to try and guard him from some demon called the Shadow. Getting his past back requires that he make it to the lowest basement of this cathedral and murder the man who owns it, the Baron Alexander. Along the way, we're being pursued by some very mutated things that can drive you crazy just by looking at them. Essentially, what's happening is, in your effort to keep your eyes open to reality, you might lose your mind completely. Number 6. Prey. I'm sure there are some people who doubt that this even counts as a horror game, but I really believe it fits. On a beautiful space station orbiting Earth, scientists are working on amazing breakthroughs in technology. These labs are specifically designed to hold and study a newly discovered alien species that can shapeshift into anything it wants. Using their DNA leads to some massive advancements, but like all scary stories, of course, something went haywire. The mimics get free and start shredding everyone on the station, and now our hero Morgan must battle his way through the bloody chaos to stop the outbreak before it's too late. There are so many nerve-wracking scenes where you're forced to crouch behind a counter and listen to the screams of your coworkers just because you aren't strong enough to jump out and save all of them. Hopefully your efforts though can stop this outbreak and at least a few people can get away somehow. Number 5. Outlast. A good journalist follows a lead no matter where it takes him. If you're investigating evil hospitals and you randomly get an email telling you about a secret mental institution that's doing illegal experiments, a dedicated reporter has to check it out. That's the rather cliche opening to Outlast, but once you get over how silly that is, it's pure fear. We're sneaking into a madhouse with nothing but a camera, some batteries, and the prayer that we get the story while keeping our head. Gameplay is based around exploring the environment while being stalked by the psychos who are on the loose. Staying low to the ground, you'll have to be aware of every little movement because these things absolutely love ripping people into tiny bits. To make matters even worse, the power is out in most of the facility, which means you'll badly need your camera's night vision. However, that also means that when the juice runs out, you're going to be sitting by yourself in the darkness waiting for death. Number 4. Until Dawn. There's a phrase I've always liked to describe stuff. They call something being genre-defying. These more daring games can be really hit and miss though. Sometimes a small developer is able to figure out some new trick that no one else has done before, or occasionally they create a broken mess by accident. Thankfully, Until Dawn is the perfect example of making a unique gaming experience that's so great due to the fact that it's so different. A group of spoiled teenagers have decided to slip away from their families for a weekend and go on a nice ski trip on top of a snowy mountain at one of these kids' mansions. Everything seems fine until a serial killer shows up and starts slaying these brats one by one. Throughout the story, we take turns playing as each of the characters, essentially trying to get them to escape, and at the same time, we learn more about the mystery of this place. With every new layer of plot we learn about, we see that these guys are way more screwed than anyone could have thought. It's so fun to see that these people are just so far out of their element. Number 3. Evil Within 2. Let me just say before we get into this entry, no, you do not need to have played the first title to understand how awesome this game is. Evil Within 2 puts us in the role of a washed-up cop who finds himself taking on a mission that no one would ever want to deal with. He's basically being forced to download his mind into a computer with hundreds of other people. The issue here is that there's an error inside the system warping the brains of the others, leaving them as horrific monsters. And now, Sebastian needs to find a way to shut the simulation down from within. Our hero is a pretty tough dude, but even he can't handle some of the creatures that have been built out of these citizens' deepest nightmares. On each new street I'd try and run across, I'd see all new sights that were just so wrong that it would just hurt my mind. I mean, they're so dark, but that is why I love this game. It feels like a horror project that isn't afraid to really freak you out. Number 2. Alien Isolation. In general, the concept of space travel is frightening in a few ways. If you really think about it, you're trapping yourself in a small box with enough air and food to keep you standing and hoping you reach your destination before it runs out. That situation by itself is enough to make your heart race, but when a huge alien gets on board your ship with you, things go from bad to extremely worse. Isolation begins with our heroine agreeing to a job aboard a vessel floating around a far-off moon. It was supposed to be a quick and easy assignment, just grab a package and leave, and yet the moment they dock, stuff goes nuts. The crew have been almost entirely hunted off by this one super strong beast, and now Ripley is its newest target. This thing has evolved skin that's hard enough to deflect bullets and perfect senses for seeing you even when you're in the dark. Really, the only way to make it to freedom is staying hidden, aiming your flamethrower when you're cornered, or just flat out trying to outrun it. This thing is fast, but if you make it to the next airlock, you might just get out alive. Number 1. The Last of Us Remastered. Biology is such an interesting topic. Seeing the finer details of life and how it all works together is fascinating, but it can also show you how quickly our world can crumble. In the universe of The Last of Us, there's a kind of fungus that latches onto the brainstem and makes you violent and murderous. Typically, this would only affect small bugs. That is until the day it jumps to humanity through mutation, which leads to a devastating pandemic. In a matter of hours, billions of people are dead, thousands of cities are burned, and only the strongest are still breathing. Our story follows a man named Joel 10 years after this event has happened, and mankind, well, they still exist, but mostly in tiny safe zones controlled by the government. Nothing would ever want to make him leave this place, except for a chance to maybe stop this fungus forever. There's a girl named Ellie who's immune to the virus, and this has never been seen before. There's a rumor that there's a lab studying a cure, and with her blood they may find it. The Last of Us has us going on a road trip through destroyed America and all the hazards that causes. During your adventure, you'll have to fight off cannibal gangs that are just flesh-eating monsters at this point, and zombies that haunt every dilapidated building. There's so much about this game that comes together to form an experience that, in my opinion, is still one of the greatest games ever made. For its incredible setting, creepy enemies, and brutal combat, I'm awarded this my pick as the best modern horror game.
Did your favorite game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do it the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. You know, it's after midnight and that monster never showed up. So let's see if I can maybe get his attention a little more directly. This is human blood. So let's just do some of this. All right, here we go.
Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.